Okay.
Okay, if we are ready, we can get started.
Sounds like a plan.
So it's my understanding you're updating from 805 to 807. Is that correct?
Correct.
Great. Okay. So the changes that have occurred from 805 to 807 are small in the amount, but very large in the impact. So we're going to go over probably about 4 main areas that have been modified, but each one of those areas have a pretty large impact on potentially the way that you use the system.
Okay.
Okay. So we can do one of 2 things. I can either direct you and you can click in that area, or I can request keyboard and mouse control and I can drive. Do you have a preference?
How about you request control and I'll let you take it?
Okay, so give me 1 second. You should receive a pop-up that allows keyboard and mouse control. Okay, it looks like you gave it to me. So I now have keyboard and mouse control. Okay, so just a little bit about my method. What I tend to do is start with some of either setup items. If there have been a lot of areas that require some additional setup, I usually start with that. And then from there I would usually go into some reports. And then I usually start with the smaller items and then build up to the larger.
Okay.
Okay. So in the Office Manager, there have not really been many additional security features that have been set up, or other setup things such as definitions where they might have changes. Security has had a big change, and I'm just going to come to just the menu bar here. So even the verbiage of what they've done has changed.
Okay.
It used to say passwords, and now it says security setup. I'm actually going to hold this because this is the larger of all of the components that got modified. So I'm going to hold that one off to the side for a minute. There have been an addition in reports in the DX1 reporting module, and that comes in the UDS section. Does your office do UDS reports for any kind of federal funding or grants?
I don't believe we do. That may be something that we want to look into, because I remember when we first started looking into the upgrade, one of the questions in the questionnaire before we went to the presentation about the new features in 807 was asking about whether we get any funding like that, and there was some $20,000 grant that we wanted to look into, because Tim, our CFO, had said that we had qualified that in years past. So that may be something we do later.
Okay. So definitely certainly worth looking into to see if you qualify for certain programs. There are all kinds of programs out there. My guess is the one that you're referring to is called Meaningful Use.
Yes.
And Meaningful Use, there are a lot of stipulations, but generally speaking, it's approximately $20,000 per provider that qualifies. Generally speaking, the upfront money is very easy to get. The additional monies after that require a lot of effort on your team's part.
Okay.
So some offices just go for the initial money and they stop there. Certainly not the intention of the fund, but it's what happens. So definitely look into that. UDS, it's a whole nother program that you can certainly look into. But the reason why I'm bringing it up is we have a whole section on UDS reporting. So if you've ever come in here to just look at some of these reports that you can run statistically, very nice. But one of the things that UDS requires is certain tracking. So a new report has been added called Seal and Statistics.
Okay.
And what this does is allows your dental team to track whether or not the patient has a high risk of caries, and then what you're doing with those sealants, and then it tracks reports. So this is a new report that you may see, should you find the need for it, in 807.
Okay.
Okay. So again, I start pretty simple. It's a report. Done. Okay. The next area I'm going to go to is the family file. Now, the area that I'm about to show you really is not specific to the family file. It's just the direction that I'm going to choose. But it's really select a patient. Okay, so your select a patient window has changed greatly. Whether you access it from the appointment book, the ledger, the chart, the family file, doesn't matter. You're going to get the same window. Okay, so it is an advanced search. So you have 3 tabs at the top of the page. We have Search By, which is really the same window that you used to have before. So we have the ability to search by last name, home, phone number, birth date, etc., this clinic, all clinics. If you are using tablets, they have added an on-screen keyboard.
Is it
down at the bottom of this window, question?
Is it an option to, well, I guess it would be something like a Surface tablet that's a full version of Windows that would be necessary to run Dentrix through a tablet?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, it would have to be something that hardware-wise would match.
Got it.
Okay. At the bottom of the page, again, not too much has changed here, right? I mean, it looks a little bit different, but it's really the same thing. But at the bottom, you're recently selected where it used to hold like 3 patients or so. Now it holds about 10.
Okay.
So you have a scroll bar to allow you to see more patients that you have recently selected. So just a little bit of a benefit in the search by. Not too much, though. Then you have the appointment tab. By default, it's going to start at today's date and the clinic in which you logged into. And this would really just be a list of the patients that are scheduled. And then you'd be able to select a patient's family file from this list. So again, just a different way to be able to access patients. You could use the calendar drop-down to choose any previous date. And again, it's based on your clinic that you logged in, so this clinic, but you can also search for all clinics or my clinics. And then the last one is really where I believe team members are going to get the most benefit. This is an advanced search. So if you've ever done like an email search in Outlook where you can say who an email came from, whether or not there was an attachment, what the subject line was, so you can put like a couple of different filters, and then the system will go through and find that. So if you're familiar with that, you'll be able to follow this. If not, no big deal. So you have the ability to do different search criteria. I can do the first couple letters of a patient's last name, first couple letters of their first name. Now notice it's not searching for me. I have to hit the search button. And it's going to go out and find everyone that matches those characters that I put in there.
In the search by tab, it will autofill as you're typing, correct?
It will, and
okay.
It will, and I apologize that I didn't mention that. Once you start typing, it will do an auto search for you. Depending on the size of your database, it might take a little bit longer to start pulling names up.
Got it.
Thank you for bringing that up.
No problem.
Okay, so in the advanced search, again, you can do partial information in here. So you can do birthdays. I don't know if I'm going to have any matches, but so I'll see if we have any SMIs with a birthday. Okay. So it's a partial search. So if you have an EOB or you have any kind of information where you need to do a partial Social Security search, that's what this window allows you to do.
Perfect.
Okay. Let me just close out of that. So again, it's the same window regardless of what module you're in. It'll bring up the same window everywhere. Okay. Similar to the Select a Patient, we will now move on to another new feature, which is the More Information button. Now, you may be familiar with the little letter or from the appointment screen, the More Information button. This is now a module. They're calling it a dashboard, and you'll see once I pull that up. I'm going to come back to search by. And let's see if you have any test patients.
If you use Mickey Mouse, he'll probably have more data associated with that file.
Mouse being the last name?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I'm just going to pull up the ledger because that's where I was. Okay, so in every single module, you're going to have the little letter I. So again, family file, chart, ledger. In the appointment book, you'll also have the I, but if you double-click on an appointment, you'll have the More Information button. Regardless, it's going to bring you to a new module or a dashboard. And the theory here is this can be your starting point, and then you can launch to any one of the modules. So here I do have Mickey Mouse. I'm on the summary tab, so on the far left you have the summary tab that's highlighted, so this is what you're seeing in the window. At the top of the page are all your navigating icons to get to other modules. So if you wanted to get to the clinical chart or the family file or the appointment book, you can launch from here. You can also select the patient from here. So depending on your particular responsibilities in the office, this might be a great place to always start. And then you have a very quick view of what's going on. So again, from the summary tab, you have basic demographic information. Basic insurance. They do not have a primary insurance, dental. They do not have a secondary insurance, or primary for medical. If this patient had insurance, you would see a 1, 2, 3, 4. If they had 4 insurances, you'd see a 1 and a 2 if they had 2 insurances. And then you would just click on that number, and it would show you just the name of the insurance. It's not going to give you full detail, but it'll let you know that primary is Aetna and secondary is Blue Shield. Okay? So you'll have some navigation there. If you're using patient tags, you'll see those over here on the right. If they have any future appointments, you'll see that, continuing care information. Any claims. So if they have any outstanding claims, you're going to see those claims in this window. Basic balance information. Then as I continue to scroll down, you have the ability to see other family members in the account that you can also switch. So if I come here and double click on Daffy, it's going to launch. Okay, so this is an interactive window. In the summary tab, if I click on the plus for appointment, it'll launch me into the appointment book so that I can make an appointment. Notice it asks what view you want to go to, and that's a big deal. Okay, so you don't have to be in the correct view anymore to be able to search for patient information. It'll ask you what view. Just close out of that window. Okay, so if I come down to the appointment tab, if this patient had any future appointments, I would be able to double click on it and it'll launch me to that appointment. But also down at the bottom you have the blue cross, so I could add an appointment. I could search for an appointment. The procedure, it's kind of like going to the ledger without actually opening the ledger and having full information. But I can look at just completed treatment plan, existing or existing other. So it's giving me a snapshot. So again, they're really trying to use this as a starting point and adding information here. So medical alerts, treatment plans, as well as health assessment if you're doing a health assessment. Now at the top of the page, most of these icons probably look familiar to you. There is a refresh button. The rest of them are the modules. But the very last one allows you to customize your More Information button. Okay, so you have 2 things. The first are your tabs on the left. So if your role does not require you to see health assessment, you can move it over and say, I don't want that tab on my list. Or you don't have a need to have procedures. You can have that tab removed from your list. So the list on the left is customizable.
These settings, are these user settings, workstation settings?
They are user settings.
Okay.
And it'll be whatever was done last. So it is defaulted to the user that's doing it, and whatever they've done last will stay. And now your toolbar are the icons at the top of the page. So if your office for some reason doesn't use the office journal, you can remove the office journal from the toolbar. And then you would obviously hit OK to save it. I'm going to cancel. Okay, so that is more information. As always, with any new release, if you have not yet, I would go on DentrixEnterprise.com. There is an area for My Voice. So if there are things in the new release that you say, hey, you know what, why doesn't it do this? It'd be nice if it did A, B, or C. Please put that out there in My Voice. It is development's intention is to really make this a great starting point for offices, so they'd be happy to really hear that feedback if they're missing anything. Any questions or comments at the more information button?
Not from our end. Do you guys have anything?
Nope. Looks cool though.
No.
No, it's really nice though. Yeah, I like it.
Good. I'm glad you like it. I'm looking forward to working with offices after it's been out for a while and see how they're using it. In my mind, the office manager is that first window that pops up for everybody. I would love for this to be the second one that people go to, and then this becomes the launching point. But again, it hasn't been out long enough to really get a lot of that feedback to see how offices are starting to use it. Okay. So like I said, our feature list is pretty small, but the components that we have are pretty robust.